take a second for it to get to YouTube, and then we'll get started. Oh, we've got Liz and Savannah's coming back in. All right.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. We are streaming live on YouTube, I believe now. I'm very, very happy that you are all here to participate. I really appreciate, the participation of the school district. We've got Beverly Wright on her way. She had some connectivity issues, but we're working that out. But it is 10:02, and so we'll get started with our Black History event. Once again, thank you to all the CHUH students who are here today and agreed to participate and share their thoughts and share what's significant to them. This entire event is dedicated to the idea that our history has significance to us now. Our history has significance to our future. And a celebration of Black history is something that we can incorporate into our lives, and as we continue to make Black history. So I want to welcome everybody here today and everybody watching on YouTube. I'll take some time and just introduce myself. My name is Khalil Sarin. I am the City Council Vice President in Cleveland Heights. I have lived in Cleveland Heights for about a decade. Before that, I lived in East Cleveland. Before that, Beechwood, and before that, East Cleveland. So I'm dedicated to this city, and I'm interested in hearing what this city has to say. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this event. We're joined here today with the superintendent of schools, Liz Kirby. Welcome, Liz. If you'd like to introduce yourself, please.
Good morning, and thank you so much for sponsoring this event and providing an opportunity for our community to hear from our students as relates to African American History Month. My name is Liz Kirby, and I am the superintendent of the Cleveland Heights University Heights School District. I am coming towards the end of my second year. That will be in June, which seems a while away, actually. I have been in education for over 25 years. I am actually a Clevelander, a native Clevelander, but I've been in Chicago for about 23 years. I'm in education in multiple roles, from teacher to principal to district administrator. I also have a particular passion for this topic, not only because I'm African American, but also I taught African American history for a very long time, and was tasked when I was a teacher to coordinate all the events in my school every year. So this is something that's a particular passion for me, and I'm happy that even in these strange times, we're able to bring students together to hear from them. So good morning.
Good morning. All right. We're also joined by Pastor Anthony Maddox, lifetime Cleveland Heights resident. He's also a pastor of the Empowerment Church. He is a husband, a father, graduate of Cleveland Heights High School, class of 2000. Lead pastor of the Empowerment Church, community activist, husband, father, and grandfather. Congratulations again, Anthony.
Thank you.
And if you'd like to say some words as well, let us know who you are and why you're here.
So I'm so excited. I'm excited to hear from the students today. Thank you guys for having me on. This is one of my favorite subjects. I tell people all the time, if I was not pastoring a church, I absolutely would probably be teaching this in college somewhere, just Black history. and our culture is my passion. And being able to have this conversation and bridging the gaps between the generations and hearing their voice today is just really exciting for me. So I'm looking forward to this. And being a class 2000 graduate from Heights, I am pumped to see so many students on this line. My daughter graduates this year as well. So I'm just looking forward to hearing from you guys and hearing your voice and seeing right now, I'm actively seeing our Black history in action in the future. And so thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for being here. And I'd also like to introduce a special guest, one of my mentors and somebody that I've learned a lot from over the years, County Council Vice President Cheryl Stevens. She has uh, a list of accomplishments that is longer than I could possibly go through today. But just to name a few, she has worked for the city, worked for the county, worked for the land bank in positions that have benefited our society and our community in innumerable ways. She has been on city council in Cleveland Heights. She has been the city council vice president, also vice mayor, city council president and mayor in Cleveland Heights, and is now working as our county council person for district district why am I
And
blank? District 10. And also as our county council vice president. She was selected by her colleagues to be our county council vice president as well this year. And I'd like to also mention that she is the director of EANDC, the East Akron Neighborhood Development Corporation, which works to revitalize the community in East Akron. And she does an amazing job there as well. Councilwoman Stevens, if you'd like to say some words about why you're here as well.
I'm here today because one of the things that I want to do is to make sure that more young Americans, especially young African Americans, understand that we should not be limited by other people's imaginations for us. The only thing limiting you and your future is you. And so your willingness to learn how to write and express yourself in the written word is something that no one will be able to take away from you. And that will help you to figure out what you want to do with your life. Our parents and friends and people like myself who want to mentor and support people who are younger, we can help you, but you will define your future. And so I can't say enough to you that African American history is American history. We are not share. There's not enough about the history of who we are that is written into the textbooks that we receive, or at an elementary level, a high school level, or a university level. And so it is up to us to research how we got to be where we are today and to help define where we will go tomorrow. Thank you for inviting me to participate, Khalil, and you'll hear more again from me later.
All right. Thank you, Councilwoman. So I am just going to give a brief description of what we're going to do today. The students and the adults participating have been asked to bring something of significance to them and something of significance to Black history to this meeting today. We're going to give an opportunity for the kids to tell us what it is, whether it's a poem, a passage from a speech, an historical event, something of significance that they can express to us, whether it's reading the poem and then letting us know why it's significant historically, why it's significant today, why it's significant to them. And this is intended to be sort of a free discussion. There's no restrictions on how they're to feel about this or what makes something significant to them. I just want to hear that significance expressed in a free way. And then once each student has done that, after each student presents that item, we can have some discussion about it and maybe think about what it means to us. So we're gonna go in alphabetical order by last name. And so Robbie Caldwell, if you are ready to present, please feel free to do so.
Okay, hi, my name is Robbie. Should I share my screen or should I just present regularly?
Let's see. I'm gonna see if I can help you share your screen, Robbie. Hold on just a second. Let's see. Of course, now we're experiencing some technical difficulties. I apologize, everybody. Here we go. You can share all participants. Okay. All right, let me help you share your screen. I'll get there. I'll get there. If you'd like to start explaining what it is, I'll work on that while you work on that.
Okay, so I chose a poem, Still I Rise by Maya Angelou, and I'll read it for you guys
Okay.
after I load. Okay, you may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may throw me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oils wells pumping in my living room, just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes bringing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard? 'Cause I've laughed like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air I rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. And that's the end of the poem. So I'm going to give a little bit of information about Maya Angelou. So Maya Angelou, as you might already know, she was an African-American poet. She was also a memoirist, civil rights activist, and etc. She was born on April 4th, 1928, and died on May 28, 2014. Maya Angelou was significant because she fought for equality and many types of rights for, if it's like for African Americans or women, etc. I love Maya Angelou because she teaches great life lessons with powerful words. And then the poem, to me, the poem um, is all about self-love and acceptance. Maya Angelou explains how nothing can bring her down and how she was oppressed by many people over the years, but her confidence and her mentality caused her to overcome what she experienced. And this poem is significant to me in Black History Month because it educates African Americans that you're beautiful, so don't let others' negative words impact you.
Thank you, Robbie. That was powerful, and I appreciate and agree wholeheartedly with the significance that you've expressed for that poem. I know that a lot of our history, and I mean our present, has been engineered in a way that could convince us, if we let it, that our place in society historically is justified, and that the disadvantages that have been put on our shoulders are justified. And I think that what you've said, that self-love and that recognition that no, we have value, we have beauty, is important to reiterate and reinforce over and over again so that we don't forget it. Anybody else, please chime in. Let me know what you think.
I loved it. Thank you so much for sharing that. You know, it's great to see uh, a young Black woman reading that. You know, it's just that confidence that it exudes and what that means for so many women, from my mother to my sisters to my daughter to the students here on this line. That's the confidence that we need to keep, that keeps us going. One of the things that I like to remind people is simply this: you carry so much from everyone who came before you inside of you. That's where your confidence comes from your family to your ancestors to everyone who's paved those ways. And so you get to stand on that. You're standing on their shoulders, and they're helping you create a new platform for yourself. And that confidence is absolutely necessary. So I want to remind every Black girl on this line right now that you can carry that confidence because you're carrying everyone that came behind you, all of their gifts and their talents, all of their hard work. People like Councilwoman Cheryl Stevens, you're carrying the shoulders, our current vice president. You're carrying all of that in you. And so that's an amazing feeling. So I hope that you continue to keep that confidence. That's one of my favorite poems. And it just lights a fire in me because it reminds me how important Black women in particularly have been to our history and our future. And so thank you for sharing that.
One thing I want to add to that, and Robbie, thank you for selecting and sharing that poem. And it's just so interesting how timeless the messaging is. Well, you know, everything Maya Angelou does, I think, is just classic and timeless. What speaks to me in particular around that poem is the concept of resilience. I rise, I rise, I rise, I rise. And it's something that we all need to be reminded of in our everyday lives, especially now. It's been a really rough time for everyone around the world. But the way that Maya Angelou reminds us to know that still we can rise, still we can rise, still we can rise, still we can rise is so powerful. That's really what resonates with me. And then one of the last lines, I am the hope and the dream of a slave, is, I mean, like, you know, over 400 years ago, would enslaved Africans have imagined that what we have achieved as African Americans right now would have happened? I mean, to think of Vice President Harris and that concept of the hope and the dream, I am the hope and the dream of a slave, just so very, very powerful and really inspirational. And I hope that you all continue to tap into that resilience and the confidence to know you can continue to succeed. You can continue to carry that, you know, the torch forward of success.
Any other students have some thoughts about the poem? Please feel free to express it.
I would just like to say that as a Black young lady, having self-love in this world especially is so important because it is so easy for other people to tear you down because of, I guess, just where, like, how we're seen in society and where we stand. But like people like Maya Angelou and her poem Still I Rise, like that really like resonates with the part of me that says that I will always be enough. And so yeah, I just thought that I should add that.
Thank you. All right. I don't want to force anybody to talk. So if people would like to, and Robbie, please feel free to say anything else if you'd like to. No, we're good. Okay. Well, let's move on. In alphabetical order, we've got Taylor Cody up next. Taylor, introduce yourself and let us know what you brought with you.
I actually have a presentation and I was hoping to share my screen. I have the share my screen icon though.
Okay, excellent. So I think that's the thing. I can't share your screen, but you have to. Robbie, I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that. I didn't realize that until just now.
It's okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Feel free. Share your screen.
Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first, I'm Taylor. I'm a senior at High Tide. I'm a 4-year Avid student and a 6-year MSAN member. And I'm just really excited for graduation. It's my last year. And today I brought a presentation about voter disenfranchisement. Felony disenfranchisement, which is another form of voter disenfranchisement that I really want to shed light on today because of our history of voter disenfranchisement in America as Black men and women. So I really want to discuss what is felony disenfranchisement. So someone who has been convicted of a felony has served their time and has gotten out of prison, but yet still does not have the rights to vote or is deemed ineligible to vote. And I really wanted to use this presentation to open up a new perspective for anybody else, but that being convicted of a crime does not strip one of their citizenship nor the credibility of their vote. So individuals convicted of felonies should indeed have the right to vote. And how has this affected the Black community? And of course, we all know that America has had a history of voter suppression and that we still see today. As we can date this as far back as poll taxes in the Reconstruction era and literacy tests, things of that nature. And furthermore, once you understand that America is made up of 13% African American people of the entire population, and then you correlate that with the 38% of the Black population in prison, you have to dive in and think like, why are these numbers so disproportionate? But this presentation was made to say that it's not coincidental. Crime rates in correlation to poverty are on the uptrend. So you can imagine all of the Black families who are impacted by poverty or have now been impacted by the justice system like times 10. And then when you think about the lack of financial means and resources that convicted felons have in the justice system, such as court-appointed lawyers, which raises their chances of being wrongly convicted and their chances of then actually taking unfair plea deals to then get out and still not have the opportunity to participate in democracy. And I really wanted to discuss this thought of like voting being a right versus a privilege, because some people really do believe that voting is a privilege that has to be earned. And so if someone is convicted of a felony, then they have lost that privilege. But I want everyone to understand that although some people have been convicted of felonies, that they are still active participants in society. They still pay taxes, they still go to work. And unfortunately, they have a limited employment options because of the felony that they were convicted of. But now they have been ushered back into society.
Yeah, I got it, but now I can't. For some strange reason, I can't get the
Hey,
sound.
I'm gonna mute you, Beverly. I'm sorry. There we go. Sorry about that.
Okay, great. That's no problem. So they have been ushered back into society, but yet still do not have the rights to vote. And then next, how has this directly affected the individuals with felony convictions? And I really wanted to dive into the perspective of somebody who really believes that people who are convicted of felonies are unfit to vote and they're no longer to participate in democracy. But although they have been convicted of that felony, they have served the time in prison. They no longer have the employment opportunities as they used to have. And now they have seen the inside of the justice system in ways that we cannot even fathom. And now they do not have the rights to vote or a voice to speak about what goes on when we have not been affected by anything. Um, so I did want to emphasize the felony outreach programs that help convicted individuals like usher their way back into society and like really iterate that, you know, the past and the mistakes that they have made could have happened to anyone, any one of us, but they do have a higher, like in the Black community, we are affected way more in the justice system, and we do have this, you know, inside out view of the justice system. Yet that 38% of the Black prison population, it still comes out without the rights to vote. So it kind of seems like that punishment that the time that they've served, and then the life that they used to have is now gone, and now that punishment is in vain because it really starts to question their total freedom after being released from prison. And you know, while we are diving into different perspectives on this topic, there are a lot of articles that read that racism isn't really the case when you look at voter disenfranchisement, and in this case, felony disenfranchisement. So in an article by Edward Fester, it was called Democracy, he says that he tries to correlate sexism and racism in prison. So basically he says, is the mostly male population of prisons evidence of reverse sexism? His race in both cases is irrelevant. Basically saying that since the justice system is, or that the prison population is majority male instead of female, does that mean that the justice system pays more attention to males than females? So he's asking, like, is that sexism? And no, it's not. But like, as you can imagine, males has been stereotyped as aggressors. So that has had a very significant impact on the males in America, and especially the Black males in America. And regardless if you are a Black male or a Black female, you still are released from prison without those rights to vote or participate in democracy. So while we're looking at other perspectives, I want everyone to understand that since convicted individuals who have been convicted of felonies have seen the inside of the justice system, have been tried in court, have had those sentences, and has now come out, they have seen, they have a different perspective that we cannot understand. So while we're voting on the decisions to help break down and reconstruct the justice system, that needs to include the voices of the people who have seen the justice system from the inside out, like I said earlier. Because without them, we will continue to silence those who have been affected the most by the decisions that we make blindly. So in conclusion, this was just a presentation to just have everyone step into a different perspective if you didn't already understand what was going on. And I really just thank you all for listening, and happy Black History Month. And I can stop sharing now.
Thank you, Taylor.
No problem.
Just to briefly make a comment, you know, it's a complicated set of circumstances. One thing that you mentioned, I think, is important to note, is the perception of Black people generally as aggressors. You know, numerous studies show that Black children are seen as older. You know, Black exuberance is seen as aggression, and the perception leads to a different treatment. You see it. They've done studies in schools of, you know, if teachers perceive a student in a certain way, that student will be treated in a certain way and will take on the characteristics that the teacher assumed they had. This is something that it influences the results of our lives. Basically, we are influenced by society's perceptions of us is really the basic point that I'm trying to make. And one of the results of that is that when you are perceived as a threat, you're treated as a threat. And when you're treated as a threat, I mean, how can you not behave in a way to protect yourself from what you perceive as aggression because they're perceiving you as a threat? And so we find ourselves in these situations as a result of this societal influence. And you're absolutely right. There is no logical connection between let's say, having stolen a car and losing your right to vote. You can't make that logical connection, or at least I can't see a logical connection between those two things. And the fact that we've got people who are experiencing consequences that most of us don't experience, and therefore have a perspective about what those consequences do to a person. And if they have less of a say in how we organize society, we're missing an important perspective about how we're currently and consistently crafting that society. Please, I welcome more comments on this.
I am just bubbling up myself because I was not expecting for a conversation like this to happen, or even a subject coming up during Black History. It's not something you normally see. I want to say thank you for raising awareness of this and opening up this conversation, Taylor, because what you have done, as soon as you started talking and I saw your presentation, the third day of Kwanzaa popped in my head, which is Ujima. That means cooperative work and responsibility, collective work and responsibility. Responsibility is the key there. What you did is you reminded us that one of the most important things about Black history is reminding us that the least of these still exist. The people who live on the marginalized, who live on the margins, right? The people who are overlooked, who are not always addressed. This is a huge issue because your vote is your voice. And so many times we found this out through history as we've had to fight and die for our vote, how significant that is. And so you're not just asking us to fight for their right to just vote. You're asking us to fight for their right to have a voice at the table again. So if we're going to have a good conversation about African-American history, Ujima is important, right? That understanding that we are responsible for what happens to our other brothers and sisters. And that's why Black history is so important, right? Remember, I stated that you guys are standing on the shoulders of everyone that has gone before you, but gone before me. And so now all of that is coming up. That means we all have that collective responsibility. I want to read to you the last statement in Ujima, just to describe it as a way to kind of just wrap that up, is we must build and maintain our community together and make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems. That's precisely what you just did. You just reminded us that a problem for one in our village, in our community, is a problem for all. You reminded us that just because I can go into the voting booth freely and cast that vote, it doesn't mean that everyone has an opportunity. I can't get relaxed because I have those rights. I have to continue to remember that we are here to fight for the rights of all. And I don't think there is a better way to really have that discussion than in terms of Black history, because Black history is about both unity and it's about support. It's about remembering that we're better together. And so thank you so much for that. That just excited me so much to see a topic like that, because you reminded us that there's so much more to our Black history than what is discussed. And the fact of the matter is, this is a part of our history that, although isn't a good thing, it's something that needs to be discussed in order to bring about change. And so part of Black history is having hard conversations about hard things. And that's absolutely what you just did. So thank you so much.
I am kind of surprised. This is a very non-traditional approach to honoring our past and beginning dialogue about our future. So Khalil, thank you for initiating this. I can't wait to hear what the next speakers have to say, because I've just been blown away by Robbie and Taylor. Thank you.
The only thing I would add to that, and kind of Pastor Maddox building on a collective work and responsibility of Ujima, is the notion of we saw the power of collective work and what happened in Georgia in the Senate election. We also have experienced during this past election the power of the collective voice and people really mobilizing and actively voting. What we are now moving into, and we are starting to see across the country, are state governments and legislatures trying to now pull back on voting rights and make it more difficult after seeing the results of what just happened. In fact, in Florida, actually, if I remember correctly, the Florida legislature were able to limit the rights of felons to vote because they were worried, probably on how those citizens would vote. And I would expect that we will start to see across the country as many tactics that legislatures can get away with to do something similar. So what you raise is timely, important, but also reminds us that we have to continue to do our collective work in this area. And I am hopeful that in our state, we continue to mobilize and work to make sure that we have as many opportunities for people to exercise their votes and have that information as possible. So thank you, Taylor. Excellent.
I would just like to I'm asking questions to get people thinking. So as you think about back during World War II, when they were doing drafts and when they lowered the voting age, they said if you're able to serve, then you should be able to vote. And I think that same argument goes for felons, because why are felons able to join the army? And not saying that that's a bad thing. Of course, everyone should be able to join the army. It's an opportunity to serve, I guess, to honor, I guess. But is with African Americans being so disproportionately affected by mass incarceration, and just seeing how that can correlate with having more African Americans serving for a country that does not fight for them, it just kind of gets me thinking as to why is this a thing, and gets you questioning the system, I guess. This has to change, I just thought I would add that.
I think that's an important point. We hear a lot about taxation without representation as a rallying cry for the American Revolution, and people get out, they pay their taxes, they contribute to society, they join the military, they serve their country in a variety of ways, and should be able to be represented by the government of the country that they serve. I think that makes absolutely the most sense. I appreciate that comment, Juliana. Should we move on, or anybody else want to chime in?
I wanted to say something. I'm glad that you shared this topic, because I actually know someone going through this exact situation where they're being accused of something that they haven't done, and they're being given an unfair plea deal, and they have no other choice but to make a decision for the rest of their life. They're only a teenager, and now they have to make a decision whether they want to spend a few years in prison or take an unfair plea deal. And I think it's actually very telling of our justice system, and that Black teens and older teens and either every other Black person has to go through this, or it's just so unfair that we have to go through this. It's just very emotional to see someone I'm close to go through this. And I'm just glad that you shared this, because it's very close to me.
All right. Thank you for sharing that, Deja. I know that can be a difficult situation to deal with. We're going to move on to Chelsea Gibson in our alphabetical order. Please, Chelsea, express to us what you brought with you.
Can you hear me or see me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you and see you. Thank you.
Okay. I wrote a poem, and it's based on really police brutality, Black people, how they deal with mental illness, I guess, if you want to describe it that way. I'm just gonna get started. It's called Does It Anger You? Does it anger you? Does it anger you because I am Black, or does it anger you because I exist? They call America heavenly bliss. Right now, it's like, shoot, that's all cops do. My people are killed, and when they say something, we are told to chill. Well, I can't take it because my people are murdered day by day, night by night, and I must live a life in fright. Because kids like Tamir Rice have died, terrified of what's to come, if I'm going to live and see tomorrow, or if a white cop is going to shoot me, then drown his sorrows. They couldn't help Ezel Ford, so how will they help me if I'm hurting mentally? I don't want to be a notch on his belt. I don't want to cry for help. Does it anger you? I'm only 13 and terrified. I don't want to see another Black face on the news. I have to see his mama cry. I've become so used to this, hearing about 7-year-olds meeting a heavenly bliss. I'm tired of the fact they have him serving time in heaven because he looks suspicious, or serving time in jail because she was vicious. Does it anger you? That I'm scared of what's to come. I don't want my heart racing like a drum because there's 5 bullets in my chest and 3 in my legs. We can't go to the store and get an iced tea without the targets on our back screaming out, fight me, or does it say shoot me? Apparently it does. Now we have to pray to our brothers and sisters above. So I live like this because America showed me and my people no love. Now I must ask, does it anger you? And this poem is about racism and police brutality, how African Americans have had to have a fear of cops, or else some are paranoid because we're getting killed so often it's become a usual thing. It's also about young African American kids being beaten, shot, and arrested by police for no valuable reason, but simply for the fact they're Black. Police officers have also killed or abused their power when being called about mentally ill Black men like Ezel Ford. Many Black people have not been diagnosed, or they've been misdiagnosed for bipolar disorder, and they don't get the treatment they need. Black people and mental illness diagnosis have always been a problem, whether we want to realize it or not. Police need to be trained for handling mentally ill men, women, and children to prevent deaths like Ezel Ford's. To move on, does it anger you is there for everyone to truly ask, does it anger you that a child is scared of what's meant to protect them, as well as what's happening in the world anger you? Black History Month focuses on Black people and African Americans' history. Well, this is a part of Black history. Focus on the Black boys, girls, men, and women killed by police brutality. The racism and police brutality has been happening and affecting the Black community way before Tamir Rice and even before Emmett Till's death. Stories like theirs is ingrained in Black history and has sparked movements to make change. They're a part of Black history, and their stories deserve to be heard just as much as an African American activist story. Their stories and what they've helped change is significant to me.
Wow, that was powerful, and I really appreciate you writing and reading that poem for us today. Right now, all I have to say is thank you, and for bringing that up in such a meaningful way. Please, somebody else talk, because I want to hear what somebody else has to say.
I'm trying to form some words, and let me just say this. I think we are in a place where it is difficult for me, because I know this is a part of our Black history, but to see that these students are exposed to it so much more than I was when I was their age, because now we have cell phones and video now. It's not just I'm looking at Emmett Till's pictures in a book. They're seeing this play out live. And so my heart is heavy, because I know that you all have to see life and see the world through that lens. And you have questions. And so it's difficult for me to have this conversation because this is the weight that I carry when I have the conversations with my son, when I have the conversations with my daughter. I know that when you get up, your hopes and your dreams are also surrounded by a bunch of folks who don't want to see you win sometimes, who have assumptions about you based on how you look. You're wondering if when you get older and you decide to have children, how you'll feel when they go to the store to get a pop. You're dealing with a pressure and a weight that I, for one, I feel heavy for, because I know as a child, as young teens, as young adults, you shouldn't have to have that weight. And so I appreciate your poem and I appreciate having this conversation, but I'm sorry that we have to have it. But it is important because it is a part of our history. What you just reminded us is that history, our Black history isn't just full of our heroes, but it's also full of victims. It's also full of names and voices of people who were overlooked or whose lives were lost. And not just at the hands of police, but even coming over from Africa to even get here. And so we're not just standing on the shoulders of our heroes, but we're also standing on the shoulders of those who gave their lives to push this agenda forward so that we can fight for justice, so that we can be in rooms and at tables that we weren't able to be at before, and even our right to vote. And so I want to say thank you for this, because this is a hard conversation to have. But if we're going to push this country forward, we need to continue to hear things just like this. We cannot push them aside. We have to confront them. And no matter how hard these conversations are, this is real. There's not a day that you can't turn on your TV and see something like this happening across the country. So what you have done is you continue to shine a light on something that maybe during Black history, a lot of folks would like to just think about our happier stuff, right? Our accomplishments and our goals. But this is significant as well, because this is what drives so many of you. You know, I can say this because I'm a graduate of Cleveland Heights High School, but we build leaders. That's what we do in the Cleveland Heights School District. We have such a diverse city, and from our educators to our principals, they push us to think critically like this and to have these hard conversations. And so I'm proud that a student in this district would stand up during Black History Month when they could have taken the easy route out, and they confronted a major issue that so many of us are facing each and every day. From this Black man you're looking at who drives down the street and pumps his gas, to you guys as you're walking home from school, this is something that we're all confronted with. So I want to say thank you for bringing this issue. Thank you. This was very hard for me to hear, because I know it's a weight that you all carry, and it's difficult to know that as children you are watching this play out, and that this is something that you have to get up with and think of. So I just want to say thank you so much for having the courage to share something like this, and making sure that we remember, again, the marginalized and those that lost their lives before us, so that we can push for change and demand change for the future. So I can't say much more. I'm all jacked up over here, but thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Pastor.
Just the one thing that I would say, I think, thank you for, first of all, thank you for sharing a beautiful poem. A couple of things that really connect with me and my experience. One, the events of this summer in particular connect directly to the piece that you shared. One thing that I found so inspiring in the midst of the pain that we all experienced was how active young people were, how they were leaders in this work, and how they push older folks to pay attention and to really start to have critical conversations around policies that need to change so that we can eliminate racial profiling, and we can eliminate young people going out and having to lose their lives just because they are Black or just because they are brown. But I was very, even this summer, there were a group of students who were either current students or Cleveland Heights graduates who sponsored a march in University Heights around all of the violence that African Americans were experiencing over the summer as relates to racial profiling with the police. So I saw that activism, and I was amazed just to watch them organize, coordinate, and push people's thinking around that work. So thank you for raising this. This represents an issue that we have to keep working on. We have not solved it. It is still dangerous for a lot of young people. People really still feel nervous, young and old, actually. So this is a relationship. This is a policy piece we have to continue to explore, develop policies around, develop training around, so that we can all live safely wherever we travel across our country.
All right. I want to give an opportunity for anybody else to say some words if they'd like to.
I just wanted to say thank you for your poem. I know that most of the time we have educators and influencers and other people who like to bring facts to the table, but I feel like it's such a blessing to have someone with a talent to portray the feelings of what's going on. And as like a young Black individual in America, you look around and you see your brothers and sisters being killed in the streets, and then you don't have the words or the art like you have to portray that to somebody else. So in your words, when I hear does this anger you, like does this anger you, I don't have the art to even portray that to someone, to even portray the feeling. Like I'm the type of person who I can bring facts to the table all day to get you to understand where I'm coming from. But I'm so happy and grateful that I have other individuals my age who have the power and the talent to portray how they're feeling in that way. And I'm just grateful. And thank you for your poem.
I just like to say, first of all, I want to apologize. I had so many tech issues this morning. I'm at the library, so I'm finally here. But I caught the tail end of your poem. I'm not sure who did the poem.
That was me, Chelsea Gibson.
Chelsea, okay. Is it because I would like to read it in its entirety? Is it going to be on the website or? But the last bit that I heard was powerful. But I would like to just hear the whole. I know you can't do the whole thing over, but is it going to be posted on the website or?
I think that's a lovely idea. I would definitely be happy to collect all of the materials that people want to share, and put them together and get that out. I think that's a great idea. And I also want to welcome. I'm sorry, Beverly. Beverly Wright, CHUH School Board. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. And also thank you for making the trek out in the cold to connect with us today too. I really appreciate that. Chelsea, please, if you want to send that over, I would love to share that if you're willing to do so. I'm sure the school would be happy to help push that out as well, so we can connect that to the video.
Yeah,
Okay.
we will definitely do that.
Also, I'm president of the student union at Cleveland Heights, at the high school. And so I was just like, if you're comfortable, I'll like put my email in the chat or something. Like, can you email that to me and I'll like, I guess, share it within the students or whatever, give you credit, of course, everything.
Sure.
All right, I love to see that. Okay. Shall we move on? Savannah Holland, I think you're up next.
Hi, I'm Savannah. This is a short quote by Desmond Tutu, and he is a cleric and just a human rights activist. The short quote says, "My humanity is bound up in yours, for we can only become human together." So I think that's just a really powerful quote that everyone should like hear. I think it relates back to like this past summer, like 2020, just like the whole year, because I feel like we were really like divided and we need to just come together and be one. And yeah, that's basically it.
Thank you, Savannah. That has been an important theme that I think gets lost a lot of times when people feel attacked. So, going back to the poem and thinking about police brutality, when we've got marches and protests trying to correct this problem that has been endemic in our country, people feel attacked and they feel like their humanity is being attacked, like we're saying that they're animals, and they attack back. And recognizing that we are all part of this thing called humanity, that we're all part of the same group, recognizing our shared humanity is absolutely vital to coming together and actually solving the problems that we're dealing with. Otherwise, all we're doing is demonizing each other and not working together for a collective solution. Please, you know what? Would you read that quote again for me? I want to hear that again.
It says, "My humanity is bound up in yours, for we can only become human together."
I love that. Can I share something? uh, Desmond Tutu, I actually got a chance to meet him because of Cleveland Heights University High School District. I got a chance to go downtown and I had an hour with him. And it was an amazing experience. So again, shout out to my school district. I can't help it. Tigers, this is what we do. But that quote reminded me of an African Bantu word. The word is called Ubuntu. Ubuntu is what it is. And it simply means I am because of who we all are. And that's what that reminded me of. And that's what this whole conversation about has been today for me. It's the first word that just leaped out into my head because you remind us that everything that I am is tied up into everyone else. Our humanity is what that word really means. It means humanity in its simplest terms. It reminds us that we're all connected, that what happens to one happens to the other. How we see things, your success is my success. You know, your defeat is my defeat. It means that we're carrying that. And that we're carrying those hopes and those dreams of each of us. So thank you so much for that. You just reminded me of that when you gave that quote. That's a very powerful quote. And one of the things that I remember from even that day that I met him, a couple of us went from the school district, is the importance of remembering everyone, that collective responsibility for everyone. And so you just reminded us that I am my brother's keeper, you know, that we are responsible for what happens to the other people around us. We are connected through our humanity. If we can remember that, I think things will be a whole lot better in this world. So thank you so much for that.
All right, I'm giving anybody else a chance. All right.
I'll go. So, one thing too is I feel like others always think that we're trying to compare, talking about like our race is better than yours when we're just all fighting for equality.
Absolutely right. Thank you, Robbie. All right. Let's move along. Deja, you're up next if you feel comfortable going.
Hi, my name is Deja Love. I'm currently a senior at Heights. Um, I'm also a part of MSAN. I think this is my third year part of MSAN, and I am a 5-year student, a part of Avid. So today I'm going to share a poem by Devin Ortiz. It's called "To Be Black in America." It is to be told all the ways you don't matter. It is to be angry and afraid. It is to watch people walk on the opposite side of the street to avoid you. It is to be told to get over slavery. It is to be told that I'm not racist, I have Black friends. It is to be told the definition of racism like you don't already know it. It is to be told, hey, what about reverse racism? It is to have a white terrorist group dedicated to your elimination. It is to be more worried about threats in your own country and those abroad. It is to wonder daily if your family will be safe and if they will get to come home. It is to be called a racial slur for speaking out against the hate. It is to be called lazy when you work full time to provide for your family. It is to walk past folks and watch as they clench their purse or pockets or lock car doors. It is to have people fear you when you feel more threatened than they ever could. It is to be told that privilege doesn't exist. It is to be told you are equal, except, in the courtroom, in the eyes of the law, the job market, the housing market, and in the classroom. It is to live in a world where 1 in 3 Black men are in prison. It is to know that they have sentences longer than white counterparts for the same crime. It is to know that they use prison labor to exploit them, slavery living on. It is to know that the police, which is a relief for some, is a nightmare for me. It is to know that you can do everything right and be killed by someone sworn to protect you. It is to know that you will be blamed for your death in spite of this. It is to hear about Black on Black crime, even though every race commits a crime against their own kind the most. It is to be taught in school how great this country is while ignoring the evil it has done. It is to be taught in school how little you meant. It is to wake up every 2 weeks to another hashtag of a Black person to be forgotten in a week. It is to want to simply be acknowledged that things aren't right and we're being ignored to this day. It is to be villainized in the media. It is to see that flag everyone holds dear and they still don't care about you. It is to be told to go back to Africa as if this wasn't stolen land. It is to be told, I don't see you as Black. You don't act Black. It is to be told, well, you don't count as Black. It is to have your culture stolen. It's to hear, what would MLK think about these protests? It is to remember that people celebrated his assassination. It is to remember the slurs and the hate he received. It is to have people know they don't want to be treated the way that you are treated. It is to want what has always been denied to us, just the privilege of walking in our own skin without the fear of persecution. It is to know, but not enough to matter. Being Black in America is a lot of things, but I hope and pray for the day that we can be treated the same. And that's the end of the poem.
Thank you,
I chose this poem because I feel like it touched on a lot of topics that Black people go through in America. And yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. That definitely went through a whole bunch what Black people experience today and for years. Pastor, I see you. Please.
I mean, my God, Superintendent Kirby, this is the coolest. I'm speechless because we're not having fluff conversations. You can tell that our students, they think critically, they understand what's going on, and they want change. And the voices that I'm hearing today, I'm just completely blown away. This isn't at all what I was expecting. When we had this, I'm just blown away that we get to see and hear things from their lens. And you just literally blew the lid off. You just blew the lid off in terms of how you guys feel, the truth that's out there, the hard truths that we have to confront. I tell people all the time that you can't you can't have peace about something until you confront it. You can't conquer something rather until you confront it. And what you're doing is you're putting these issues in front of us. You're addressing them from a whole nother generation. And what I love about that is here I am at 39 years old, and I'm shouting this stuff from the rooftops, and you're much younger than me. So what this tells me is no matter how far we go, we will not stop talking about this until change happens. Generationally, we will continue to push this until change happens. And so I feel 10 times better knowing that there are people like you guys who are out here long after I'm gone who will be standing up and speaking out for these issues. I tell people all the time, I think people question whether or not students are ready for the world. But I truly believe, just watching you guys today, that the world isn't ready for you at all. Not a single student at Cleveland Heights High School. And so I'm thankful to be on here and watch this, because I feel amazing about our future, knowing the voices that I'm listening to now and understanding that you guys are not afraid to speak truth to power. So thank you. I'm just going to move out of the way. I feel like I went to church. Thank you.
I just wanted to say that I'm glad that we're talking about more than what we've accomplished, and we're more speaking on what we still have to do and what we cannot stop fighting for.
Yeah, were you done? I'm sorry. Oh, okay. But I just wanted to say that like I said when I heard Chelsea's poem, like I'm grateful for the artwork that confronts the microaggressions that we see every day. And, addressing these as Black men and women, they can come off, or not even come off, but they can be perceived as aggressive, or as me having an attitude, or me getting sassy with someone, and not like someone actually taking the time to hear what I'm saying and to feel what I'm saying. So I just really love that we can use this artwork to confront the things that we see on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, Deja and all the students, I think your piece was powerful. The thing that troubles me is that you all are still here decades later, still confronted with the same thing that we fought for 20 and 30 years ago. And it bothers me that you all are still fighting for the same thing, but it brings joy to my heart that you're still a part of the fight and part of the change. And I am so proud of each one of you, the poems that you have given, what you've shared with us so far. And like Pastor said, you guys you're our future, and it's good to see that you are taking the baton and you're still there being a part of the fight. Yeah. Yeah, this is, I mean, I love this dialogue and listening to this from a perspective of you all, the young people, is just, it's great. Yeah.
Was the name of the poet was Desmond Ortiz? Is that correct, Deja?
The name was To Be Black in America. It was written by Desmond Ortiz.
I'm sorry. Oh, Desmond Ortiz is the poet. Okay. Okay. Because I'm getting text messages of people who are fascinated by this conversation. They want all the information. Who was the poet? All that. One thing I would add, that piece in particular reminds me of the equity work that's happening now all across the country, across multiple institutions. And the poem is a reminder that this work has to happen in schools, in criminal justice organizations, in our political structures, in our healthcare structures, but also in individual people, because it really also speaks to the negative impact of stereotypes and how that impacts the lived experiences of African American people, people who are of Hispanic and Latino origin as well, and other people of color as well. I think it also really calls out that as we engage in equity work, we have to call out things like white privilege and make sure people understand what it is and its impact. Racism, what is it and what's its impact? Because I think as we all are starting to go into this space to really look at, address, understand, and implement, equitable practices, there is going to be a need to be very intentional around the learning and the understanding of core principles around equity. So I appreciate the poem. It definitely speaks to the work that hasn't happened, its impact, but also the work that needs to happen as well. So thank you so much for sharing it. Perfect.
All right. Okay, I think we can move on. Juliana Madlock.
Okay, so for my piece that I brought a quote by Baird Rustin. I just wanted to, before I say the quote, I just wanted to mention that bringing this quote was not only to emphasize what he says, but to emphasize who Baird Rustin was, because I think that now he's very overlooked, and that people don't know who he is because he was dismissed by some of his peers. But yeah. So the quote says, "To be afraid is to behave as if the truth were not true." And I think that just Baird Rustin saying this himself is powerful, because he was a openly gay Black man fighting for civil rights and gay rights. And I just, I want to be able to fathom how hard that was during the civil rights movement, because you have more than one thing that is working against you. And he still acted so fearlessly to fight for what he thought was right. And I thought that is very inspirational for, I guess, just the youth now, because I feel like seeing what went on during the summer is, we see how much power we have, but now people are starting to lose their momentum. They're starting to feel tired of I understand the feelings of feeling tired for not being heard, or feeling tired of having to say the same things over and over again and not have people believe you, or not have people credit, and have people invalidate what you go through. But we cannot stop fighting, because what we go through is what is happening. It's the truth, what we're facing is unfair. And to have people to say that it's fair and know that it's not is like, it's painful, honestly. Like, I know that we all have to go through it, and seeing it as like such a young kid, I feel like that also adds to the fact that the perception of society, the perception society has on young African American boys and girls. Like, they express their, I guess, fears of us, their irrational fears that we're threats or that we are aggressive. And that causes us to, I guess, lose our childhood. Like, we don't get to experience childhood the same way as our white counterparts would, or as just somebody else would. Like, it's unfair. And the fact that Brad Rustin was able to say that he will always fight for the truth and be unafraid um, is just, I mean, it goes to speak to the fact that we will always be enough and that we will never be too small to make change. And yeah, that's just what I wanted to say.
Thank you very, very much for that. Bayard Rustin is definitely one of my heroes. The courageous spirit that it takes to be able to do that especially during that time, is astonishing and something to aspire to. Please, other people, I want to hear what you have to say.
Want to say that one of the same things, he's one of my personal heroes as well, because Bayard Rustin comes from a time where he was fighting society. And in many cases, he was fighting Black folks too, right? He is fighting to get us room at the table when many people in our own community didn't want him. If you look historically, you'll see this so many times, even though he's one of our architects and he allowed us to get so much accomplished, they really tried to hide him in some senses. And I always ask myself how Bayard Rustin would look today in 2021. And it reminded me, and I actually had this conversation last week, and I'm glad you brought this up. In many cases, I think that Bayard Rustin would have had an easier time. Unfortunately, in the same way, I think we still struggle with some of the same issues in our own community today that we were dealing with Bayard Rustin back then. I think in order for the African-American community to be successful in terms of our Black history, we have to look back and be honest about the fact that maybe we have not always prepared a place for all of our voices at our own table while we've been demanding places at other tables. But what I love about Black folks and I love about Black history is the fact that it's so diverse. Each of us brings something different to the table. And in order for us to be successful and move forward, we have to embrace those differences. Not fight those differences, but embrace those differences. Bayard Rustin opened up doors for so many African Americans, but also so many gays that did not have a voice before. And so him standing firm on that really, really changed history. So it's very interesting that you bring him up because just the juxtaposition between those two is just so interesting how he was fighting both things at the same time. And he was okay with that. And it's just so this is blowing my mind. This is just blowing my mind. But that was just awesome. I'm going to shut up now. It's going to be quiet.
I just wanted to mention again that I specifically chose him because I feel like as we're fighting for who we are at our own table or who we are at other tables, it's important to recognize what the Black community does within itself that kind of tears us down. So like we have to fight for everyone. We have to fight for all Black lives. It can't just be specific to the ones that you like, because we're all facing the same things and you would not want to be left out if it came down to you.
Absolutely. I want to just quickly say, Bayard Rustin shows us, that there's still levels that people see. It's one thing to be a Black man in America. It's another thing to be a Black gay man in America. And that's a conversation that we're absolutely going to have in this country, because even at our own tables, we still have a lot of work to do. And so I think you shine a light on the fact that while we're outside trying to change society's view of us, we have some work to do internally as well to make sure that we have a place where all of us feel welcome and our voices are heard.
It is very hard to justify calling for injustice against people while you're calling for justice for people. You can't square that circle. You have, it's justice for everybody or we don't have justice. So all Black lives matter, right? That's the idea. Does anybody else want to talk about that at all before we move on to the next one? No. All right. Well, let's move on. But I do want to say that was powerful, and I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. I think next is Yasmin Smith.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yasmin, and I chose a poem by Langston Hughes, and it is called I Dream a World. I dream a world where man, no other man will scorn, where love will bless the earth and peace its path adorn. I dream a world where all will know sweet freedom's way, where greed no longer saps the soul. Now avarice blights our day. A world I dream where Black or white, whatever race you be, will share the bounties of the earth, and every man is free, where wretchedness will hang its head, and joy like a pearl attends the needs of all mankind. Of such I dream, my world. So, for those of you who don't know who Langston Hughes is, Langston Hughes was an African American poet, better known as a leader of the Harlem Renaissance. And the Harlem Renaissance was a cultural revival of African American music, art, fashion, and so much more around 1920s and 30s. And it was just such a big movement for African American people just to show and express who they truly were. And that poem just means so much to me because I feel like you can truly understand that he was trying to express that there was just so much going on in the world and he didn't want any chaos. He just wanted it to be subtle. He wanted the earth to be very peaceful. And he wanted it to change and just become a better place. And this meant so much for Black history because he wanted to influence others to try and go by his words and just to get his point across by saying to come together as one instead of just protesting on the streets every day and just all this violence and chaos. And just he was trying to say, why not come together as one just to make so much peace? And I definitely think that he was trying to be a leader. I definitely think that he showed a lot of leadership because he wanted to, I guess you could say, stand his ground and say, okay, let's just come together as one and just make peace, And something that actually stuck with me in the poem was a world I dream where Black or white, whatever race you be, will share the bounties of the earth. And I basically just think that means, doesn't matter what you are, doesn't matter what your sexuality is or what your religion is, we can all come together as just one big group, I guess you could say. And we can come together to change the world and just give us a push to make even more history, especially for Black people. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Yasmin. I think that speaks again to a couple themes that I think we've touched on. One, what Taylor was talking about earlier about using art to convey these messages and convey this information and to influence people to understand it in ways that just information doesn't do. Art creates that that punch that gets through people's intellectual defenses. And then sort of what Juliana was talking about earlier, talking about this intersectionality. Langston's talking about all people, receiving the bounty of the earth, all people receiving justice, all people in equity and intersectional equity. And Juliana, Yasmin, I'm struck by the empathy and insight that you've brought to this on that level. This intersectionality is important because every You know, if we're fighting for justice, we fight for justice for everybody. That's how we get it for ourselves. If we get it for everybody, I really appreciate that, Yasmin. Thank you.
I appreciate, Yasmin, you reminding us of the vision of the work we're doing. So Langston Hughes really lays out, where are we going? Where do we want to ultimately go? And all of this critical work that has been done and that we have to continue to do. So peace, love, freedom for everyone. And there's also a theme of access to resources too. So, and that's really important to remember. It's not just about, I mean, you can't be free without resources, right? If you are stuck in entrenched poverty. And so I think as it connects to all of the things that we've been sharing, you really kind of remind us of, you know, what's the promised land we're really trying to get to, as Langston Hughes is painting that picture. So thank you for that.
That's what I love about the place that so many of our arts have in terms of our history and in our civil rights movements and just pushing us ahead is they've always had a pulse on what the community was sensing and found unique ways to kind of express that. They were that driving force to remind us where we were going through song, through dance, through poems, through movies. And so you see all of these different extensions of one hand, one mighty fist coming together. So you have folks. And it's great to have folks who go out and protest, right? It's great to have lawyers who are also filing lawsuits. But the arts also made a huge, huge difference. And I think one of the things that this reminds us is that there's a place at the table for each and every one of our gifts as we're fighting against injustice, as we're raising our voices to say, hey, we're demanding change. And so that's just for every student who's looking at this now and folks watching. You don't have to be standing out in front of a protest. We need your gifts. We need your talents. We need your voice in those hidden places to expose what's really happening, to again, point us towards that promised land and remind us why we're doing what we're doing. And so I just want to say thank you so much. Langston Hughes, he was that voice. He was one of those people who reminded us of why we needed to do what we needed to do, to really sit down and cause us to think critically about what he was writing and really think about what we can do in terms of our life and our society to make that better. So thank you so much. But there is absolutely a place for those arts and those gifts at the table, whether it's painting, whether it's music, whether it's writing. We need that to express that and move us forward. So absolutely, thank you.
All right. All right, let's move on. Cassandra, welcome. We can't hear you, Cassandra. Let's see. Nope, still can't hear you. Don't know how that happened. All right, let's take a look. Let's figure that out. How about this? Because we heard you earlier, right? All right, well, while we're figuring that out, let's take a look and see if I missed anybody as we were going through. We might have some people that didn't show up on the participants list in the same way. So anybody else who hasn't gone yet? Do we have anybody? No? All right. All right. Well, while we are
let's try
figuring,
with Cassandra again.
yeah,
Cassandra?
maybe if Cassandra leaves and then comes back, maybe if she rejoins the meeting, we might be able to figure that out. That's all right, Cassandra. She just put in the chat. Yeah, we'll figure it out. You know, no pressure. Maybe we could, you know what, while we're waiting to figure that out, let's move on. I know some of the adults brought some things that they wanted to talk about a little bit. I don't want to presume an order. Beverly, I know you had something that you wanted to talk about. Please while we're figuring this out, let's keep it moving.
Cassandra could have her audio set to phone and not computer, so that could be the issue.
Ah, I see. Okay. Okay, let's see if we can.
Khalil, while we're doing that, I just wanted to share something. This is the only thing that popped in my head in terms of what we were discussing today. And it's one of my favorite words. I'm sure my church is tired of hearing it, but it's a Twi word from Ghana. It's called Sankofa. And it's symbolized by a bird with its neck turned backwards towards its eggs. And it literally means to go back and get it. Fetching what is at risk of being left behind, fetching that. And so what you all are doing is reminding us of the significance of that. And I just want to say thank you. You're going back and you're getting those things so that we can move ahead. You know, we can't go any further until we go back to get those pieces that the previous generations left for us. And that's what that history is about. You're going to make history because of the history that you carry with you. And so I love the fact that Black history is constantly in motion. It's constantly moving. It's constantly progressing. Each and every one of us, for every accomplishment that we do, when you graduate college, when you open up your business, when you start your careers, that's Black history, you know, those impacts that you make. And so I just want to say to every student, thank you so much for dropping the deposits that you did today. I know I'm better because of this conversation. It has just blown me away. But I just know that it's great to see you guys going back and getting some things and then carrying those things into your future. And I know I feel way more confident about where we're going, knowing that we have students like this leading the way. And so I feel astounding. I just feel great. This was just a great experience. So thank you. I see Cassandra's back, so I'm gonna shut up.
All right, Cassandra, welcome back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. But I just want to say good morning. I'm Cassandra. I am a junior at Cleveland Heights. And this is a original piece that I wrote this week. My name is Cassandra Steele, and I am Black history. I was born to become Black excellence. I am the future, and I can make the change. I can alter what I see in front of me. And you ask, what do I see? I see pain and loss. I see fighters and believers. We have tried to protest and use our words. We have marched to what we thought was towards a new life, a new beginning. In 1967, Martin Luther King said, a time comes when silence is betrayal. He also said he knew that he could never raise his voice against the violence of the oppressed in the ghetto without having spoken clearly to the greatest purvey of violence in my world, my own government. And still nothing has changed. When will things get better? When will we feel safe? Racism is not over. It's just been replaced with different things. There are still people out there suffering to be heard because we have been silenced. There is a wall in front of us called silence, and we must keep trying to break the silence. And I know it's not fair that we are the only ones fighting. And there are times when we feel alone and scared, but our time is not over. We will remove the tape they have put over our mouths. I can make a change. I am the future. I was born to become Black excellence. I am Black history. My name is Cassandra Steele.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for that. Please, yeah. You know, if you've got more to say about that poem, I'm sure we all want to hear it.
She got us all together.
Yes.
I love it. Walking, talking Black history. Yes. You reminded me of why I'm so happy to be. I call myself Pop as a granddad. I look at my granddaughter and she is just bottled up everything that came before her and every person, and she's walking that. And that's what you just described. That's what you are. So I know that what I just heard in your voice was your mother and your grandmothers and everyone that came before them, that you're carrying that strength and that power, that focus, and absolutely that confidence. And so I'm glad that I get to witness that, because you just set the whole place on fire. And I know that confidence is going to turn the world around. That's what we need. People who know who they are and whose they are and what they bring to the table. So I just go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm gonna mute myself, but I'm feeling good now. Yes, that was awesome. Thank you.
You know
So
what? Uh,
one
please.
of the things that you heard me be mostly silent this morning, which Khalil will tell you in general is unusual. I do have the ability to speak and have opinions on a lot of things. So I wanted to save my time till near the end because there was a challenge in what I said at the very beginning. Never be limited by other people's imagination. And today, the 8 young women who were present, you each in your own individual way delivered on not being unlimited. I was incredibly proud to be part of the community that you live in, that you love, and that you are growing into adulthood in. Each of you, Robbie, you started out. I took notes on you. Usually you take notes on other people. Today I took notes on each of you. Robbie, you were inspirational from the start. You reminded us, along with Maya Angelou, that whatever happens, we as a people still rise, and you have taken that to heart. Taylor, felony voter disenfranchisement is yet another way to keep Black people in their place. And you said it is never appropriate, and that in supporting getting everyone who's paid their dues for some crime they've committed back fully into the system, it's a way to support all of us because the way to reduce our voice is to reduce how we vote. Chelsea, you are terrified and you put it into writing and into your language. It it angers you and it turns us into paranoids, you said, and it could rob us of a positive future, but you won't let it rob you of a positive future. And you will personally continue to work for change. Thank you for your courage, Chelsea. Savannah, all of us are bound together. You're absolutely right. Thank you for recognizing that when we are divided, we achieve less. But when we are together, oh, we have so much more. Daisha, being Black in America is a worry. We worry when we get up, we worry when we go to bed. Our mothers and fathers worry about us, but you're right. We articulate this change and then this need, and then we can take care of it. That impact of racism doesn't make us smaller, it has helped make us stronger. Thank you for articulating that. Juliana, you are believing in truth. You're not getting tired, even though you know that you've expended a lot of energy in it. You are not afraid to believe that truth is true. Um, you don't believe in what came to be a favorite vocabulary word in the last 4 years, alternative facts. You know racism when you see it and are not afraid to call it out. Yasmin, we all must have dreams. Thank you for reminding of us of that and to tie what is freedom and what is the future, what is peace, and what is use of all the resources that are part of being American into our lives. We have to have that future, the positive thought about what our world can be. And Cassandra, you've nailed it. You can see, you can make things happen, you can be a dynamic of change. And today, all of you presented an unlimited future. As we get older, you heard Pastor Maddox say this, and Khalil, and Superintendent Kirby, as well as Board of Education member uh, Wright. Some days we feel like, how's the future going to take place? Have we done enough as individuals participating in the system? And you today helped us see that the future is bright and you're going to own it. And when those of us who have to step down, I'm no longer afraid in part because of today, because each of you, each and every one of you inspired me to be able to retire at some point. Thank you for that. I cannot thank you each and individually, collectively enough. Khalil, would you like for me to tell them about our parting gifts?
Yeah, you know what? Yes, I would love for you to do that.
Let's see, hold on just a second. Um, Today, in honor of Black History Month, and those of us who watched the inaugural process, we heard The Hill We Climb by Amanda Gorman. And Khalil and I have collaborated to acquire for you the poem on a parchment piece of paper, a small poster size, which will be delivered to your homes as soon as it gets here. For some reason, the house that I ordered them from to give to you, was there 6 to 8 inches of snow all over the great Northeast? I didn't get my delivery. They keep telling me it's on its way. So sometime in the next week, we'll be delivering a poster like this one or similar to it to each of your homes so that you will, like Amanda Gorman, continue to aspire. We hope to be able to collect everything that those of you wrote this week and share it with other people. What you said was incredibly important. And so, like Amanda, you're going to have a role in our future. I am so glad that each of you participated today. Khalil, back at you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I wanted to add to that. The city of Cleveland Heights has also put together some proclamations of our appreciation for your participation today. Um, the thoughtfulness and insight that has been displayed for our community today is invaluable. And I appreciate it, and the city appreciates it. And I look forward to great things from all of you and continued participation in our community. So thank you. Thank you very much. I know some of the adults might have some things they wanted to talk about as well. Some important and significant um, events or poems, and I wanted to give a chance for people to bring those up as well before we close out.
Well, I want to thank the students for sharing their pieces. Very inspirational. We will be sharing this widely within the district. You all represent the best of Cleveland Heights. Thank you for your critical thinking and really providing this space for reflection and sharing. And thank you, Councilman Sarin, for leading the charge. The one piece I brought to share is the vinyl. You know, vinyl's making a comeback. I love it. I brought the vinyl. I don't know if you all can see this. Of my top favorite album, I just have to say, Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. And the reason I brought it today in particular, a couple of reasons. One, it's the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is a take on the Miseducation of the Negro, a book by Carter G. Woodson, who was the founder of Black history. So that in and of itself, I think, bears significance for our conversation today and many conversations happening all over the world as it relates to Black History Month. But also, Lauryn Hill in particular, this was in the 90s when this album came out, was really representative of a new era of thinking about what beauty represents for Black women in particular. So she was one of the first major artists to have natural hair. And you could see a movement that started in many ways from Lauryn Hill kind of hitting the music scene and sharing that work. And then finally, just, you know, Lauryn Hill and her lyrics and the way that she seeks to empower people, Black people, young people, women in particular, is just permeated throughout the album as well. So everything from, you know, there's a song on here, Everything is Everything. After winter will come spring, change will come eventually. So it's just, you know, there's so much power in the lyrics on the songs here. So this is what I wanted to share. I find this continue to be inspirational to me 25 years later um, from this album coming out. So thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you, Superintendent Kirby. Yeah, I remember when that album came out too.
That was my album.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say thank you again for having me. This has just been awesome. You guys have just completely impacted my life. I want to say forever through these conversations. The last thing I'm going to say, I say this to my daughter Amaya all the time, and I'll say to you that each and every one of you wears your crown well. Continue to wear that crown and keep your head up high. We need you. We need you in your schools. We need you out here in corporate America. We need you at tables. We need your voices. We need your energy. Don't ever lose that confidence. Remind yourselves that you carry a destiny of so many that have come before you, that you are gifted, that you are talented, and you're called for greater. And so I just want to say thank you so much, but it is a great feeling to see so many powerful young Black women on this line who don't mind speaking their minds, standing up for what's right, and who are focused, who are driven, and just completely confident. So thank you guys. I am better being in your presence. And so I just wanted to say that you guys made Black history today.
Well, I just want to share the piece that I have here is the women of the civil rights movement, our unsung heroes. And according to the research of the National Museum of African American History, women were the organizers and educators who built the infrastructure and mentored young leaders. They participated despite violence and facing loss of employment and homes, as well as fear of sexual assault. But in addition to that, they had to fight sexism by the men of the movement they built with their blood, sweat, and tears. And these are a few of our unsung heroes. Is Paula Murray, Mary McLeod Bethune. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to, if you'll be able to, we're going to post this on the website. Ruby Bridges, Septima Clark, and Dorothy Height, Fannie Lou Hamer. And I have to say that you all are our heroes of the future. I am so proud of each and every one of you young ladies that participated. And like I said, your voices is voices that we need. And I'm sure that we're going to continue to hear your voices. So keep doing what you're doing. I am so proud of you, Cleveland Heights, University Heights. I'm an alum myself. I'm not going to tell you what year. But I'm really proud. Thank you, Khalil, for setting up this format. And I'm hoping that, we just don't do this for Black History Month. I'm hoping we can continue to have these conversations and have this type of format. Maybe Superintendent Kirby can look at us maybe doing something quarterly, because I think this is powerful and we need to hear this. So again, thank you.
Thank you, Beverly, for being here and sharing that as well. And I mean, it doesn't have to be me participating, but I'm certainly open to it. Whenever anybody wants to call me to join, I'm happy to participate. And I want to echo the thanks for the students who joined us today. I had something to share. It was a piece from A. Philip Randolph. But I'm not going to. The theme was racial justice and economic justice are intertwined. And so I'll just say that. But I think right now, having heard from the students, my contribution, that can come another time. I really appreciate what you all have brought to this day and to this Black History Month and to the rest of my year and beyond. So I appreciate what you've given us today. And I'd like to give an opportunity for any last words that any of our students want to say before we close out. Please feel free. If not, that's cool too. But please, let me know if there's anything that you'd like to leave us with. Any last thoughts? No?
I like to just give a shout out to Councilwoman Stevens. I haven't seen you in months. And Sandy's hello. It's good to see you.
All right.
Khalil, I was going to tell Beverly, right? It's okay. She can tell people she graduated in my class. We were in gospel choir. We're going with it.
Okay, thanks.
All right. I think with that, oh, Chelsea, I saw you on mute. Did you want to?
I wanted to say thank you for this opportunity to share my voice and speak out. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing. All right. Okay, it looks like, I guess with that, we can bring this to a close. Again, thank you everybody for participating, and to everybody watching and everybody who will watch this, I'm sure that you appreciate it as well. All right, let's keep moving forward. Cleveland Heights University Heights students, thank you again, and have a wonderful rest of your day, wonderful rest of your month, wonderful rest of your year, and I look forward to hearing more on these themes going forward. All right. With that,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank God.
Thank you.
all right.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you. Have a
You
good
too.
day.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Khalil.
Thank you. Thank you for
Excellent.
being here.
All right.